Hi, everybody. Um, this is Mary. Spanx was not feeling well tonight, and so I he put out a call for some assistance, and that's kind of where we're at. And I'm glad he did. So I thought the topic would have been really important tonight. So to talk about asking for help. So welcome Tara and Jason P. Um, I totally forgot to put my necklace on so people know I'm dual streaming. I was trying to do some other stuff. And Jennifer and Rolling Stones and Jennifer Newton, thank you for becoming a member. So this is Blessed to Crochet, and it is also the lifeboat. And I am blessed to be one of the ripples of the lifeboat. And so usually when I'm on, I usually put on a necklace so people know that I'm dual streaming. So we'll put it on while we're getting everybody to come on in. There we go. I've got my anchor on and I'm all ready. How is everybody doing today on this Saturday? I hope everybody is doing well. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Hooks. Hi, Lord Kiss Freak. I get to say happy birthday to you. I know yesterday was your birthday, but happy birthday. Hi, Crochet Queen. Hi, Anne. So, it was kind of the topic I thought I'd kind of go with tonight because it's a topic I think we all kind of struggle with. Now, when in a few minutes I was kind of thinking of this, I thought, I wonder if, and my mom has been more than willing to actually come on tonight. So, I'm very thankful for that one. So when she's ready, she's going to unmute her microphone and camera so I can see her in the backstage. And I'm going to have her on because I know this is a topic she struggled with. Also, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there and all the mothers that have four-legged creatures running around. So I figured out, I said to Spanx, can I have her on? He goes, yeah. So it's something that she has struggled with. Now, for those that do not know, my grandfather, which was her dad, was an alcoholic. So she comes from a father of an alcoholic. She said it wasn't until she was in her 30s till she kind of got over being angry, realized that she was actually angry about it. My grandmother really looked at feelings as somebody that just was kind of like, let's put them aside. Hey, breezy girl, let's put them aside. Let's not deal with them. Goodness gracious, if we ask for help, surely. And so my grandmother really struggled with that until she was I don't think she ever gave up because she wanted to be so independent. She didn't want to ask anybody for help. It was something that was difficult. It was a struggle. So I'm asking for help from my mom. Spanx asked for help today from one of the ripples to come in and come beside and help. So I'm going to welcome my mom, and she is totally new to all this. But she is awesome. Her name is Kathy. I'm going to welcome her on, and she's going to kind of talk a little bit about her struggles, and we're going to do this whole thing together. And I have some notes here that I printed out real quick. So let me get her on stage, and I know my lifeboat family will be awesome. So that is my mother.
Hello, everyone.
Kathy. And believe it or not, she's just in the hall down. But we figured this would be easier than trying to do two people in the room. Hi, Mom.
Hi,
I just saw you ago, right? I know that Nana severely struggled with it, which was your mom asking for help. And I remember you telling me a story that you were working in a preschool and you were struggling to ask for help.
Yes. Well,
she used to be a preschool teacher.
Office. And a lovely Christian sister came and talked to me. And she said, you are denying us a blessing. And I was just shocked. At the time, I was very shocked, but now I'm glad that she had the courage and the love to come and talk to me about it. And I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" She said, "Well, you obviously have some help here." And I don't remember the situation at the time why I needed help, but it was obvious, I guess, to people around that I needed help. She said, "You obviously need some help and you're not asking." And she said, "You're denying us the blessing of helping you." So it really, I was probably my late by that. I started to look at this in a whole different light. And not that we want to be, needy where we ask somebody for help for every little thing, but there are times when we do need help. And sometimes people are like to have that opportunity to feel useful and to be a blessing to me or whoever. And I didn't realize really how I was, denying other people the ability to bless me, but to be blessed themselves by helping. And so I was so thankful for her because I began to think about this whole thing for help in situations where it was obvious I needed. It was something more than a little something I could do for myself, and it became a blessing. Not
Mom, pick up your phone. Maybe that will help because you're breaking up.
today. Is
I
that
don't know if
better?
I don't know if it's the way it's laying, but
Oh,
we're gonna do
maybe it
that.
could be. It could be. Well, I don't know how much you heard about that.
No, you did. I heard it. But I know for me as somebody that deals with fibromyalgia on a daily basis, I know I struggle with it. And I will even say to my mom, I don't want to bother you. I don't want to ask you. I don't want to bother you. I don't want that independence in me that sits there goes, I don't want to ask for help. And she'll like, I'm here to help. You're here to help me, and I'm here to help you.
Right, right.
And it's hard because you want to be independent, but there's some days where I know for me, it's like, I don't want to ask her to go do a load of laundry for me.
Yeah.
And Brazy Girl says, you're beautiful, Mom.
Oh, well, thank you.
I agree with that.
Oh,
I agree with that. She's has a
sometimes
beautiful
I don't
heart.
recognize this person I see in the mirror.
But I know I struggle with that. And I'll go, I hate to bother you. And she goes,
Yes.
Mary, that's what, hi, Lydia. That's what you're supposed to do. We're here to help each other.
Yeah.
And Nana, all the way until she left this world, she really struggled with that. I mean, it was just
Oh,
like, it was,
I
and I
could
know
be.
for you, it was difficult because you were caregiving for her a lot more than I was.
Yes.
But you found that so frustrating.
Well, I could be sitting in the same room with her, and there would be something on the table next to me, the side table next to me that she wanted. She would not ask me to get up and hand it to her. She would struggle to her feet, and I'd say, "Mom, what do you want?" And she'd just give me a funny look, and she wouldn't say anything, and then she'd totter over right next to me to get the thing that was on the table and then struggle back to her chair. And
Yeah.
it was frustrating for me because I would have been delighted to hand it to her, but she just would not ask for help. And we weren't allowed as kids to ask for help.
Well,
And
she
we
all
could have all kinds of things happening in our home, and we weren't allowed to talk about them with anybody or tell anybody, or it was always like you had to be quiet about it. And so we learned to just keep everything to ourselves and not ask for help no matter what. And
well,
it
and
was hard to break that because it seemed as though it was, and I think sometimes in our American culture, you pick yourselves up by your bootstraps and you
yeah,
take care of
exactly.
yourself and you be independent and you don't lean on anybody. But that's not biblical.
And I think too, the I think maybe also, part of that kind of keeping everything to yourself. My grandmother was raised in the Depression. My grandmother also had polio as a young individual. So she only had one real good working arm, and she took care of somebody with multiple sclerosis, which was my step grandfather. And that really destroyed both of her arms. And so that made it more difficult as my mom's sitting there going, but I can help you. And she didn't want to ask for help. I'm not going to ask for
Right.
help,
Right.
which was like, Nana, just kind of ask us for help. That's what we're here for. I find at this age that there's things I still do and things that I can no longer do. And then there are things that I can still do, but it will hurt later. I get it, Mrs. C, for sure. Absolutely. I get it. I know too, you dealing with a father who was an alcoholic,
Yes.
um, that was something that was like nobody knew. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody what was going on in the home because you didn't want to. Nana, of course, for sure didn't want anybody to know.
Right.
Um, I remember for you, you told me that there was a time where he wasn't paying the rent and he wasn't paying the mortgage, and they came to, foreclose on the home, and there was a notice of eviction, and she had family coming from Scotland, correct?
Yes.
And
Well,
you
this
can
was
say,
something that had to do with the IRS,
yeah,
and they came and put a notice on our house that was our home was being seized by the IRS. And under penalty of law, you couldn't take this sign off the house. But my mother was having relatives from Scotland
yeah,
coming to visit, and so for the time that they were there, she went out and took that thing off the house, and we lived in fear that someone would come and find out that she'd
yeah,
taken that thing off the house, and she hid it from them until they left,
yeah.
and then she put it back on. But it was a
Oh,
very
Margarita.
a very difficult time.
But
Yes.
that was another thing where she probably could have asked for help, but she didn't want to. She wanted to take that off the door and pretend that everything was okay when it wasn't.
Right.
Um, Now, my grandfather, her dad, ended up unaliving himself. Um, and so that's not the answer either.
No,
And of
no,
course, the the help that's available now for those that are addicted to drugs and alcohol are not there was not back, wasn't there back then in the 40s
no, it
and 50s.
wasn't. No.
It's a whole different world. There's so many other advantages out there. And I Captain Spanks was like Captain Calhoun. He said, "Oh, thank you so much for jumping in." And I'm like, "I'm thankful you asked for help. We've been telling you that's what your ripples are here for, so that you feel like if you're not up to par one night and you need to take a break, we're here to help you, and we'll jump in when we can assist." Um, so I know for somebody that deals with chronic illness, I know for myself, it is something that I struggle with asking for help. I can do it. And then I regret it later when I go, I don't really want to do it. I have had a migraine now well, it's much, much better today. Thank you. Thankfully, for 2 days prior to this. And about 9:30 last night, I was like, the only thing that sounded good was wonton soup from the Chinese store and the Chinese place. And I called my mom. I know she's in another room, but I just was comfortable in bed. And I said, "Mom, do you mind going out and getting it?" And she was like, "No, I'll go ahead and get it. I'll be fine. I'll go do it for you." And she gladly went out and got me the thing of wonton soup, and I ate it. And it was like in a couple hours, I actually felt better. But it was like I was still hesitant to say, I don't want to bother my mom to go out and get me this. I don't want to ask her for the help. Um, but I knew that I needed the help. And we here on the boat and here on my channel, we are focusing on connection. We're focusing, as I say on my channel, the lighthouse is always on. We are here that nobody suffers in silence and everybody can ask for help. And we shouldn't be ashamed of asking for it. It's not a weakness, it's actually a strength. Too many people in the world tend to keep a score and think that you owe them if you ask for help. I'm not one of them, but too many people are, in my experience anyway. Yeah, I get that. Now I have an article that I kind of found. I will place it in the description on my channel. I thought it was kind of interesting how they did it. And the ways what gets in the way is the fear of being vulnerable. There's something vulnerable to saying, I need help. That word of saying, I'm not strong enough. I'm too weak. It has nothing to do with being that. You have to change it up and realize that our strength comes in asking for help. We cannot do this thing we call life by ourselves. We need to do it through connection. And this is showing you connection. I figured out having my mom on, and she said, I don't know what I'm going to talk about for an hour. I said, I got you. I got you. But I said, even if you're there, she's just there beside me, helping me to do this and giving her little bits of motherly advice. And again, if you have a mom there, give her a call tomorrow. If you've got four-legged creatures running around, they're special too. And if your mom's no longer here, you know what? I encourage you to be in connection, especially tomorrow. Be in the lifeboat. Be on all the other channels that are ripples, that are live. Get yourself into live content tomorrow. If somebody comes in my Facebook group and says, turn the lighthouse on, I don't need to be on and showing my face. I will gladly turn it on if people need that part of connection. Because I know for some, like for me, Father's Day is coming around. My father's not here anymore. And it's around my birthday. And I always struggle with that. So I know the other end of it. So if you are there tomorrow and you go, my mom's no longer here, or you've had a difficult relationship with your mom, be in connection tomorrow. Don't sit not connecting with people, because connection and running to that versus running to something that's not going to help you is the best thing that you can do tomorrow. Anne says, we all need help sometimes. I'm in a wheelchair bound and my daughter does the trash for me, and dumpsters are up the steep hill and gets out packages. Office is at the bottom and another steep hill. We have to ask for help. It is just, we have to. And we have to run when we're struggling with something tomorrow that may be difficult. We have to run to help. Shirley says, I agree with the last statement. And always some of us are just not worthy enough for help. After all, we must have done it ourselves. Yep. My grandmother was kind of that way, I think. She just was not going to ask for help for nothing.
No.
Honestly, one of my pet peeves is when I help someone, I don't expect anything in return. On Monday this week, I had a really difficult situation happen. And for me, the easiest thing would have been, the store was on the way home, the grocery store, Kroger's, and let me run in there and let me get a gallon of mint chocolate chip ice cream, which would have called my name for the entire next 24 hours.
And mine.
And my mother's. And so I thought, no, I'm not going to do this. This is hard. I don't like this. This was something kind of thrown at my husband and I. And I don't quite know how it's going to work out yet. And we stopped off at a little corner store, picked up some sandwiches, picked up some healthy things, and a little tiny individual wrapped chocolate, just one, and sat and watched, hi Spanx, watched series all day. And where I ran to was the lifeboat. Where I ran to was my connections. Where I ran to for help to deal with the Pacific issue that I was going through was my friends and the connections that I've made through the lifeboat. That was coming to help. That was not running to a gallon of mint chocolate chip ice cream that would not have helped me. It actually helped to talk about it. And when my husband could not really talk about it anymore, my friends were there to just have to bounce off to. My mom was there. And so tomorrow, when you may be thinking, my mom's not here, or I don't have a good relationship with her, run to the connection points. There are people here that will talk with you. You do not have to suffer in silence tomorrow. So one of them is the fear of being invulnerable for people who are insecure. I get it. It's kind of that fear of like, I want to be independent, but that the fear of being invulnerable. The need to be independent. Boy, I know that one.
Oh, yes.
And my mom is
Well,
going
we
to
kind
deal
of
with.
wear that like a badge of honor. I can do this myself. And even when we're raising our children, and of course we need to make them independent. When you're teaching them to tie their shoes, even, well, you can do that yourself. You don't need me to help you. But it's a fine line between deciding what can you do for yourself that you should do for yourself, and when do you need to ask for help. And sometimes I have trouble deciding which of these things it
And
is. And I
she's
don't want to bother people. My mother always used to say, no, you can't be bothering people. Just be quiet. You can't bother people.
and
And
Jennifer
so I
says,
always feel like I'm bothering people. But I got to see that where asking for help, people were happy. They were happy to come and help.
and Jennifer says, I needed to hear these words today.
Oh,
You know, um, yep. I mean, we've had to learn how to live together. We live with my mom and myself and my husband, but we've chosen to come together and help because he's disabled, I'm disabled, and my mother's getting older. So she's going to have to
watch it
unfortunately
there,
ask
kid.
for help. She probably doesn't want to admit that, but she's going to have to ask for help in a way she's probably going to go, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Now, those that came and watched my little celebration on birthdays, um, on celebrating my dad's birthday, know my dad struggled with dementia. And I remember when we moved from Florida to Cincinnati, we had a house that had a walkout basement. And one of the things that was said to my mom, Kathy, you and Chuck should go live in the bottom basement, which we gave to my daughter. We wanted her to feel like she had an apartment and learn how to keep that up and all that kind of stuff. And she said, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. I want, her room was here and ours was down the hall. She said, I want to be where I can get access to Mary and Josh if I need them. And there were times at 3:00 in the morning where she had to sit there and go, I need help.
Oh, yeah.
Yelling
Yeah.
for Josh to come because my dad couldn't get off the restroom. And she didn't want to be downstairs having to ask
Well,
for
there
that.
were people that thought Dad and I should live separately in a different house. I thought, this is not a time. I can't take care of him by myself. They really didn't understand how much help he required, I don't think, because
Yeah.
they really couldn't understand why we were all living together.
Yeah. But it was a godsend.
Oh, yes. We couldn't
It,
have kept him at home.
no.
If I'd been by myself, he would have been in a nursing home a long time.
Yeah.
Soon, well, we eventually had to put him in respite care because of COVID when I got sick, and you all got sick.
Yeah.
But that was only for 10 days. But we were able to keep him home until then, and which was a huge blessing. And I have no regrets about that.
But we were there to help each other, and
Right,
people didn't
right.
realize. But 3:00 in the morning, we would hear, Josh, I need you, and he'd come in to help her.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, Brazy Girl, that we're here to help you, and we're
Mm.
here that you have your lifeboat family. I'm very glad for that.
And you did all the cooking back then?
Yep.
And you still do
Can't do
now,
it.
most of the
I
cooking. And so I didn't have to worry
can
about healthy
can't always
meals
cook.
and getting
Yep.
things together. It was a huge help to be together.
I think we all find it hard to ask for help because of how we were raised. One of my mother's favorite sayings is, God helps them who helps themselves. Exactly.
That's not biblical either.
No, it's not.
No, that's not in the Bible.
I try not to live, Maybe old habits die hard. They will,
They
and
do. Yes,
they
they do.
do.
I still struggle with it.
But Spanx, we're here to help you. We're all here to help each other.
Yeah,
100%. Shirley says, my husband was on hospice here at home when COVID started. It was awful. People couldn't come over. We had nursing every few days. Well, that's what we had for my dad.
right, right.
Um, that's exactly what we had for our dad. Um, my dad, not her dad, but the fear of losing control. Don't we
Yes,
like to be in control? If we're in
yes.
control, then everything's fine. When
And
everything
you have to
starts,
real, and not everybody's going to do it like I would do it, and I have to be content with that, and it's okay.
and that's kind of going back to saying some people won't ask for help because they don't want to feel beholden. They may
Yeah,
have trust issues or just like putting themselves in other people's hands.
yes,
My dad really didn't have a choice. He had to be helped. But he fought it, what he could. But that's kind of going back to that fear of losing control. Oh, goodness. I want to be in control of everything. If I'm in control of
yeah,
everything, everything's fine. But we always can't be in control of everything. And then when things are out of control, then what do we go to? I, for myself, have never been addicted to drugs and alcohol. Neither is my mom. But food is something that I will run to very easily. I have found since doing the lifeboat and since starting my channel, I don't run to food as easily as I used to. There are some days, yes, but I don't run to it like I would have because I'm realizing this doesn't help. This doesn't make the situation better. Getting on my channel, getting with my connections that I've made with the lifeboat, getting on the lifeboat, getting into all these other ripples that have happened, that's where I'm finding the fact that all of these are coming together. That's where I'm running to versus running to the food itself because it's not going to do anything. But old habits die hard. So every once in a while I have to sit there going, what am I eating this for? Why am I eating this? The fear of rejection. Boy, that's a big one. I know for myself, it's like, I always struggle with that. I wasn't the cool girl in the class. I wasn't the one that was in the clique. So I don't want to do it because I don't want to be the fear of rejection. So that hit me. It was like, for those who associate rejection with the attack on their self-worth. Not everybody is going to like everybody, and not everybody is going to be someone that is for everybody. But the friendships that I have made I've connected with on the boat have been one that I can tell you they're almost effortless. Doesn't mean that we don't need to put in a lot of work into them, but we still need to do that. But they're effortless. It's like I've known some of these people, I feel like, all my life. If we realize that connection takes 200 hours, and I repeat that fact a lot, 200 hours. Boy, I've done a lot of silly things in 200 hours. I I think we all have. But I have spent my time where I wake up in the morning and I have the boat, I go to bed and have the boat, and I make those connection points throughout the day. 200 hours to build connections. It doesn't happen overnight. We've connected with Tommy and now we're learning to connect with Spanx, and it's all going to take time. But we have to run to where these connection points. The magic happens in the chat. It doesn't necessarily happen with the people sitting in the chair. It happens in the chat. You will see it if you come in and start talking with people. And then you go into other channels and other ripples and go, oh, I know that person. And I know Kristen. And I know Shirley. And I know Brazy Girl. And I know this person and that person. I know them. It's like going into a friend's house. And what's the first thing you do? You scan the room for somebody you know. Oh, I hope they're there because I don't want to feel
yeah.
like I'm by myself. So it's that thing to do. We need to run to where our connection points are. And the connection points, the lifeboat's the hub, and all these others are rippling out from underneath it. And it's wonderful to see. If you want it done right, do it yourself. That includes recovery. Do it for you. You have to do it for you. I know my mom can tell you that her brother, we tried a lot of things. I know she did to try to get him in recovery, and it was futile for Stephen.
Right. Until it was his idea, it didn't work. And it finally, the last 10 years of his life, it was his idea and it worked. And he
But
was sober for 10 years.
but on the flip side of it, he gave up alcohol because his body couldn't tolerate it anymore.
Right. Well,
Um,
yeah, the
and
scares. Yeah, with that.
yes,
Oh,
but then the doctor gave him medicine to help him sleep, and
sleep. Well, then he
he
abused.
used abused that. So,
Yeah.
um,
But at least when he was awake, you could have a
yeah,
relationship.
you could have a
We were
relationship.
eventually, I was able to have a relationship with my brother in the last part of his life because he wasn't using alcohol.
Yeah,
Because it's difficult to have a relationship with someone who's using. You don't trust
yeah,
them and you're always on guard because you don't know, what they're thinking and why are they doing this. And so the fact that he was at least sober when he was
yeah,
awake, and he did help my mother for quite a
yeah.
few years after she tore her rotator cuff in her right arm, and of course her left arm was partially paralyzed. So
From
he
the
fixed
polio.
her kitchen so she could get to
Yeah,
things. She didn't have to reach up high for anything. And so he was a big help to me too at the last part of his life.
drugs and alcohol are not a thing for me. Food is definitely an issue. An
Right.
adult in my house have food issue. It's not overeating either. Yep, I get it.
Yeah.
It's real easy. If there's mint chocolate chip ice cream, I don't sit there and eat the whole gallon at once, but I'll sit there and eat one, and then about a couple hours, like, oh well, that sounds good too, and then I'll go back for it. So I
Yeah.
don't keep it in the house because I know that it calls my name, and
Yeah.
it's not going to assist. Now every once in a while, I will bring home a gallon of mint chocolate chip ice cream, but every 6 months, and I will enjoy it, and then when it's gone, it's gone. Done,
Yeah.
done. Um, and
I
please,
think
if you're
yeah,
thinking about
I don't
quitting,
gallon.
if you're thinking about quitting alcohol and drugs, please do not do this without seeking medical attention. Um, it can be life threatening. Please don't do that. That's what the boat's here for. Message Spanx, email him. Please do not attempt to quit cold turkey with any of that stuff. You need to be underneath medically treated for it. It is the safest way to do it. And just getting to the point where you realize you need help is one of the first steps, but you have to be the one to do it. Nobody can do it for you. Um, Over empathizing with others. Some people are attuned to the emotions of others that anticipate reactions such as feeling burden that might not be materialized. Um, some people are more empathetic to than others. I'm going to say this as a mother who raised an autistic individual. Those with autism struggle with empathy. It is something that has to be taught to them, and so they have a very difficult time dealing and handling their emotions. So if that's just something to keep aware of. I think that for sure it's going to be a topic that I'm going to do more on my channel. Uh, you may not have somebody in your life that's autistic, but you may run into somebody that is autistic, and you need to know what you're looking for, and you need to know the signs so that you can understand it. They don't read social cues like you and I do. So understanding, being over empathetic with others, kind of understanding that some people struggle with that and struggle with their emotions may be a sign that they're on the spectrum, and you just need to know the signs and symptoms of it so that you can be aware of it. Food is very comforting. We lost the reason for eating, nourishing our bodies. Yep. Oh, it was my go-to. Having family members who were addicted to drugs and alcohol, having my mother's past, I was very aware that for me, going down that road of drugs and alcohol were something I did not want to even begin to think about going down, because I knew it was something that I was more susceptible to having. There were times in my life where I knew that I didn't want to be here anymore, but knowing what her father had done and what my dad's uncle had done, I did not want to do that. I was an only child. I'm it. I'm all she's got. And so I thought, I can't do this. I can't do this to my mom. I can't do this to my dad. But the easiest thing for me to get my hands on was food. And it was something that when I came home and I had a really rough day at school and I was heavily bullied and my dad had issues with anger and I was just miserable, that was the first thing that I did. Was I went right into my room and I would eat. It comforted me for years, and it's something that I still battle with today. But I can tell everybody here, and my mom can vouch for it. And she, she said, "I'm so glad you found the lifeboat because I think that since December, she has seen me gain friendships and connection points." And she said, and even my own husband, he said, you're just happier. You're
Yes, you are.
happier,
You
and
are.
she said, "We're so excited to see that for you." And she said, "I see you running in the direction of those friends and those connection points versus food." And she said, "That's a really good thing." And she's noticed that since December. And Casey says, for anyone who's extra sensitive, emotional person, I discovered a video recently done by Tara Bacont, I'm probably not going to say that right, titled Why Empathies Can't Ask for Help. I sent it to Tommy, not sure if I watched it though. I will have to look that up then. That's something for sure I will have to look up. The sense of victimhood. Those that may have been a victim, people who have gone through life thinking, I don't deserve to be helped, I'm not worth it, rarely seek support, constantly asking, hearing their inner voice. They develop a poor me attitude, believing that it's their fate to sacrifice or struggle on their own. I think that's some of what we've even said in the chat itself. I thought this article was very good. So I will send the article to Spanx for him to put if he'd like, but I will definitely be putting it in mine. I thought it was a very helpful article. And some of their suggestions was rewriting those inner scripts. Well, we talked about that on the last time I was on the boat, about rewriting those tapes. This is where you start. You rewrite those tapes and say, nobody wants to be my friend. That was something that I had made thousands of copies of in my head for years. And when I got on the boat and I started making connections, those all started to break. Little bit by little bit, where sometimes I'll still kind of go back to those tapes that go running through my head, but I don't sit there and repeatedly go over them over and over again, because I know if I do go down in that hole and down in those tapes, I know exactly where I'm going to be. And my mother's seen it. She goes, Mary, God love this woman, because she will sit there hearing me talk about something over and over and over and over again. I will sit there and I'll go, she goes, I know. Are you done yet? I know you have to talk this out. You've been talking about it for a half an hour. I'm like, yes, Mom, I think I'm done. And then I'll walk away, and about a half an hour later, I'll come back. She'll listen to me lovingly.
Well,
Seeking counseling.
our society has changed too. Years
Yes.
ago, I think people were mothers were, when I was a kid, mothers were home and you'd see two women out in the front yard talking, or leaning over the back fence talking to each other, or sitting on the porch with each other having a glass of iced tea or a cup of coffee. And so people had uh, easier ways to connect than they do today. So many people are, we're all closed up in our air conditioned and heated homes, and we go in our air conditioned cars. And so we sort of live these solitary lives, and it's hard to connect.
It is. It's hard to make those connections, and I didn't think it was possible. And I'm glad I chose to just, I thought, I don't need the lifeboat. I'm not someone that's, has an alcohol or drug issue. But I figured out, yes, I did. I think it doesn't matter what you have. the lifeboat may have started off as a sobriety channel. It still is, but it also has taken this next step to realize how important connection is to all of those things. You may have somebody at home that's dealing with a drug or alcohol problem. You may have somebody at home that's dealing with a chronic illness. And those are all places that the boat can be a help. And I remember being on, it was in February, and I was struggling with something. And Tommy was on, and I said, I hate to dump. And he said, Mary, if you're going to dump, this is the place to do it. It is the place to do it. Everybody here is going to be welcoming to everybody saying, I need help. And if Spanx is watching, I'm going to put up my little floppy trophy. I'm going to put an anchor on this poor thing. I'm going to try to. Anyway, this is my version of my trophy. Everybody loves floppy. So I'm going to put it up and say, good job, Spanx. You get this trophy tonight. Because he asked for help. He doesn't often get a trophy, but I'm going to give him a trophy tonight. I'm going to give him floppy. So it was interesting in this article. It said, take the SMART approach. SMART is an acronym for measurable, achievable, relatable, specific, and time bound. Specific, measurable, achievable, relative, and time bound. So I thought that was really interesting. And mind you all, I've kind of done this in about 20 minutes. Yes, it is way easier to reach out, but I'm going to say that too. I agree. It is much easier to reach out because you have the pocket on your phone. And go be a mom. Happy Mother's Day. I agree with that. I will tell you this. I was on a live for myself. And somebody said, you need to stop streaming and start living. And I thought, I haven't lived. I mean, I've lived, but as far as having connection points, I haven't done it really since I started the boat. What I think people realize is that, yes, we need to congregate around the fire pit and sit and chit chat. We need to go out to lunch with people. We need to go out for coffee with people. We need to do all of these things. This is not a takeaway to going physically out and connecting with people. However, people don't think, and what I'm seeing more on YouTube is more and more live stream, and even crochet channels are getting live stream content where they're just sitting there having 4 people on a panel crocheting together. People don't necessarily think of running to the YouTube, as I think that there are now more and more happening, and realizing that this live content is happening. I do a majority of live content because I want that connection. I want people to connect in the chat. For me, and my mom can tell you, there are days that because of my fibromyalgia, we've had Captain Calhoun deal with tooth pain. When you are dealing with fibromyalgia, you are dealing with pain all day long. It's like you've done a heavy workout, or you've walked an amusement park for the entire day. You're sore. Well, that's kind of me every day of my life. So if I'm having a really rough day, I'm not going out. And she'll tell you, I'm sitting crocheting. I had a migraine for 2 days. I've spent majority of the day resting. And until this, and I'm glad that Spanx reached out and needed help today, and we were glad to assist. But I have spent the day resting today because the past 2 days were so difficult. So this is something I don't think that I would have necessarily realized or run to if it hadn't been for finding the lifeboat. When I was raising my daughter in 2000, from 1998 through to 2022, I can tell you there were a lot of times that, yes, we had a phone, but I did not go running to stuff. There wasn't stuff, and I only wish it had been available, because a lot of people in my life, my family was amazingly supportive, but my friends didn't understand this whole autism thing. They didn't know how to help me. I didn't know how to ask for help. I was often too tired to ask for help. So having something like this to connect with would have been amazing for me, because oftentimes by the time I got done getting up, going to work, coming home, taking care of my daughter, getting dinner ready, getting dishes, I was too tired to think about going out any place. And on the weekends, I usually spend it crashing. So this kind of go into a live someplace where I knew people. That's the important part. Built relationships and knew people would have been a huge help on some of my days when I was going through some very difficult things. And I don't think we think necessarily of the YouTubes as being a place that we can do that. But I think more and more channels are doing that. And it is so wonderful to see. And now I'm actually seeking out live content. I'm the one sitting there going, okay, you're doing live content. I want to be in with you, because I get to meet people in a way that I necessarily wouldn't have been able to meet them any other place. So I'm going to link this. I thought it was just, again, a very good article that was very just brief overlay of asking for help. And I think that I could never do it justice by reading the whole thing here. But you can go on my channel and go through it. I think it was just very helpful to sit there and say, yeah, these are a lot of what we were talking about in the chat was in the in that article. And I think that that's the wonderful thing about the live content form, and the ability to have the connections that are forming in these live chats is because we can sit there and ask for help. We have to get down to the point where it is not it's something that you need to ask for. It's not a weakness. There's nothing wrong with it. It is a strength to be able to ask. I only wish that my grandfather would have been able to ask for help. I can't imagine what life it would have been different if he had asked for help. Uh, you know, um, you know, and been able to been a fully functional non-alcoholic individual. It would have been certainly life-changing for his son, who only repeated what he saw his dad do. And my mom, eh, didn't have that same drive as her brother. They're both, full blood brothers and sisters, but she never had the drive to go use, which I'm thankful for. Even though I know you grew up in that, you didn't ever have the drive to go drink in the manner in which she did.
No, but I just shut down and just didn't express emotions or feelings. Everything was fine. We're fine. We're fine.
Yeah,
Everything's fine. But inside you're dying, and you don't know how to tell anybody.
exactly. And that's something that Christina, that's my daughter, by the way. I I love you, but we're almost at the end. And so I appreciate that. um I think that it would be nice to have you come on one time with me, Mom. We got her on.
Yeah.
Um I
Well,
will absolutely do that.
I don't have any of friends that are my age that do this kind of thing. They just don't. I'm sure there are older people that do this, but I don't know them. Whoever they are, I don't know them.
Yes. I can tell you I'll explain. I will tell you that the thing I love about my mom the most is I think that she's just been a very, very strong individual. Um, she's just has that heart that is tremendously amazing. I love her heart.
Thank you.
um,
Don't get me to cry
and
now.
it's
I cry.
something that,
You know, everybody says, "Stop it! Stop
yeah,
it!"
she starts crying and then I start crying and it's just this whole circle. Um, so, but what is one thing that you have to say that you like about me?
Well, I just love how, your heart, and you love so fiercely, and you're a true mama bear. That's for sure. And you talk to people.
Yeah.
You're like your dad. You don't meet a stranger. You go up to
Yes.
people, even in the
Yes.
grocery store, and start up conversations with
Yeah.
people. And I find that very hard to do.
Yeah.
And I just enjoy, you can be funny, you're funny, and
Yeah.
you get things done. You make things happen.
I do make things happen. I'm
Yes,
very,
you do.
very grateful of that.
Yes.
Christina, if you'll give us about 10 minutes, I'll figure something out. I'm going to say that. Um, but I just really encourage everybody to ask for help. Ask for what you need. And if you can't go to, if you can't um, go to, if seek out counseling. There's nothing wrong with that. And I know counseling may not always be covered under insurance, but take the time to look for the resources. And if you can't do that, ask somebody to help you find them. There's resources out there that will be willing to do things on a sliding scale or help you if you need to go talk to somebody. Some of these issues, we can all have this wonderful connection here, and that's wonderful. But some issues, some really traumatic things that have happened in your life, need sometimes going in front and talking with somebody that is an expert in the field. I know my mom was in her 30s before she realized she needed to go talk with somebody because she realized she was still angry with her dad
That was a big
for
deal, because people had said to me, "Well, he had an illness. You need to understand.
yeah,
You can't blame him." And but and so I accepted that, and that
yeah,
was true. But then there was still the part of me that I hadn't really dealt with, that was angry that he wasn't there for me as a dad should have been.
yeah,
And that a lot of his actions, we ended up with the sheriff at our door at another place. And he said, "All you can take is what you can put in a suitcase. And you have to get out of this house. And you have to leave all the furniture." My mother had to leave all of her kitchen appliances and everything, because we're going to sell them to help pay for the rent.
yeah.
And so those were all traumatic things that happened to me when I was an early teenager, that I hadn't dealt with the anger about those situations. And yes, he had an illness and it wasn't always his fault, but I was angry at the situation, and I had never dealt with that. And
The
I
stuff that,
ended up going to Adult Children of Alcoholics, and I went there several times, and they were very helpful. They gave me this was, before internet and all of that kind of stuff, but they gave me a lot of literature to read, helped me understand why I had trouble expressing my feelings and my emotions. And they were very, very helpful.
and
And I'm
Wally,
always
you know,
glad I reached out to them.
yeah, Wally, my heart goes out to you. One's for sure, and one's to all the people that don't have their mothers here.
Yeah.
Um, my mom can be a little mom to everybody tonight that maybe doesn't
Oh,
have one. But I know that because I lost my dad. So I know that for me, when Father's Day comes around, his birthday came around, and that was a hard day for all of us. And Father's Day is right around my birthday. Um, so that makes it difficult. But can I encourage everybody tomorrow? The lifeboat will be on, the ripples, maybe some of the ripples will be on. And if one of us ripples need to pop on, we will. if it helps people tomorrow through what can be a difficult day, that's what we're here for. We're here for that. We're here so that nobody suffers in silence. If you're missing your mom tomorrow because she's not here or you don't have a close relationship with her, run to counseling. Run to what, um, you know, what the counseling, or not counseling, run to the connection points that are here that are been formed. Shirley, I'm going to drop the lifeboat because I am simul streaming on my channel and the lifeboat. So that's what the lifeboat is. Excuse me. It is there for you. All these ripples channels that have started. It is why we're doing it. We want people to realize that there is a place that they can come if they're just, some people don't have a transportation. Some people are dealing with an illness, they're homebound. Some people are caregivers. My mom and I had to go through that where we were caregiving for my dad a lot. And so, it wasn't easy to go out, but this helps to do that. And this is all part of asking for help. It is such a difficult thing to do when it shouldn't be. But it's something that I think that we all have. Some of those things we probably have to journal about. We have to work on and maybe sit there and ask, well, why is it so hard for me to ask for help? That's a question that I think would be a great journal question. Why is it so hard for me to ask for help? That's a great one. And you need to start maybe looking into why is it difficult for me? And finding ways that makes it easier for you to ask for help. I'm realizing that if I'm trying to, I can't lift anything anymore, but if I'm struggling to be able to do the laundry that day because I'm hurting, I need to say to my mom, can you help? Like last night I said, I put laundry in the wash, but I can't put it in the dryer. Can you help me with that? And she went and put it in the dryer. But I need to do more of that. And she's going to have to learn how to do that as she gets older, asking for help when there's things that she cannot do. And so we have to help each other. We have to realize that these tapes that go running through our heads is something that if we don't sit here and ask for it, then we're going to sit there and it's going to be so much harder.
Well, there's also a lot of volunteers in the community. I know
Yes.
where in Cincinnati, this lady came over, and I think she was through hospice somehow, but she came over. This was before COVID. She would come over for 2 hours a week and just sit with my husband and watch Gunsmoke. And just gave me a break for 2 hours. I could go in the living room and put my feet up, and I usually would just sleep. But I could watch a movie if I wanted to, or listen to music or do something while they were in the bedroom watching Gunsmoke. And it was just, I could go for a walk. I didn't have to think about, being on alert for him. And it was just a total break where I could do that.
I'm also going to put another link on my side. I will actually put it in this video too, in the description over on my channel. It is called Lasagna Love, and it is an organization that if you put in a request and you are having difficulty with, your food. I know my aunt is struggling with stage 4 liver and lung cancer. And so it was something that I actually gave her the resource to be able to, use. And they did. They brought her a lasagna so that she didn't have to worry about dinner. So I will put it underneath the description of my video. If anybody's interested. We live in a small town, so we've put in a request, but it hasn't come over yet. But that's another resource that I think is a great concept. They do a lasagna and they bring it to you once a month. So if that's something that is helpful to anybody, we are all here to help. These channels are ripples. We're all here to help, and we're all here to assist. So let's do this together. It's no fun to not do it together. It's so much better if we do it together. Let's ask for help, and let's ask when we need it. There's no shame in that whatsoever. It's a good thing. So I've done my hour. Thank you, Mom.
Oh, thank you.
I really think that
Yeah.
it was nice. I'm glad I did it, and I
Yes.
thank you, Spanx, for allowing me. Mom, don't go anywhere. I'm going to take you off stage for a minute, but thank
Okay.
you again, and just stay right there. Don't do
Okay.
anything. But thank you all. I'm glad I could help tonight. I'm glad I could help Spanx, and I'm glad I could help the boat. And that's what we're doing. We're doing things together, aren't we? Little bit by little bit. And I'm glad that you all allowed me to welcome my mom. I hope that was kind of helpful, having that on. Having that on. Well, I'm glad it helped. And I'm glad you asked for help. And just so you didn't see it before, you get floppy tonight. You get floppy. So everybody have a wonderful day, night. For all the mothers, happy Mother's Day. For all the ones that just have the 4 paws running around, happy Mother's Day. For those that do not have one, please run to Connection tomorrow. We are all here so that nobody has to be alone. And as I always end with, stay connected. It truly does make a huge difference. I love you all. Boat and my channel as well. Have a great night.